Most businesses think about growth in a very linear way. If you want more customers, you need more attention, more content, more ads, more outreach, more campaigns, more budget, more noise. That's how a lot of founders end up on the marketing treadmill. The business only grows when they're actively pushing. Run ads, leads come in, stop, and they slow down. That kind of growth can work, but it's exhausting and fragile because it depends on constant effort just to keep momentum alive. But the strongest businesses aren't only built on attention they buy, they're built on advocacy they earn. They don't see customers as the end of the funnel. They see them as the beginning of the next growth loop. A normal funnel asks, how do we turn strangers into customers? A stronger growth engine asks, how do we create customers who naturally bring more people with them? Because when a customer loves what you do and feels proud to be associated with your brand, they become more than a buyer. They become a signal, a story, a recommendation, proof, and in some cases, your most powerful marketing channel. Let's do a quick mental exercise. Imagine a customer has just bought from you, had a good experience, and is happy. Now ask, what would make that person actually tell someone else? Not just quietly appreciate it, but actually say to a friend, you need to check this out. Would it be because the result was visible? Because they felt proud? Because sharing it made them look smart? If your honest answer is, I'm not sure, that's the point. Most businesses aren't designing for that moment. They're hoping it happens by accident. But customer-led growth doesn't become reliable when it's left to luck. It becomes reliable when you understand the psychology behind why people share. And to be clear, this isn't about begging customers to post about you. Real customer-led growth happens when sharing your brand feels natural and even beneficial for the customer, because people don't share randomly. They share because sharing does something for them. It makes them look smart or generous, helps them express their identity, gives them status, or helps a friend solve a problem. And sometimes it's simply built into the way the product works. So we're going to break down three levers. First, social identity, how your product makes the customer look or feel when they share it. Second, reciprocity, how unexpected value makes customers want to give something back. And third, product-led virality, how the experience itself introduces your business to new people. When these three work together, your business stops relying only on cold acquisition and starts growing through the people you already serve. So as we go, keep asking, would my customer naturally want to share this? And if not, what would need to change? Let's start with social identity. One of the biggest mistakes businesses make is assuming people share products because they like the business. Sometimes they do, but more often people share because of what the product says about them. People don't just buy for functional reasons. They buy for emotional, social, and identity reasons. A product may solve a practical problem, but sharing it publicly is usually tied to identity. Think about it. If someone shares a book they're reading, they're not only sharing the book, they're saying, this is the kind of person I am. If someone posts from a luxury hotel, they're not reviewing the breakfast, they're communicating taste and status. Part of what they share is the identity attached to it. So imagine your customer is about to recommend you. What do they look like in that moment? Not physically, but socially. Do they look smart, ahead of the curve, generous because they're helping someone? Take someone recommending a project management tool. They're not just saying this app has task boards. They're also saying I'm organized, I know tools that make teams better. Or a premium hair salon, not they install hair, but I know where to go for a luxury transformation. I care about quality. So place your own business into that sentence. When someone shares you, they're also saying, I am the kind of person who, now finish it, who chooses quality, who is serious about growth, who finds useful tools, who invests in myself. That sentence is your identity hook. And if you can't finish it clearly, your brand may be too functional. That's social currency. People are more likely to talk about something when talking about it improves how they're perceived. That doesn't mean your brand has to be flashy. Social currency can come from intelligence, taste, being early, being values driven, or having access to something useful others don't know about yet. The question is, what does using your product allow the customer to say about themselves? If the answer is nothing, they might still like it and buy again, but they won't feel a social reason to talk about it. Functional value satisfies the customer. Identity value gives them a story, and people share stories far more than features. Let's make this practical. Two companies sell the same outcome. One says, we help small businesses manage invoices. Clear, but functional. The other says, we help serious founders get financially organized so they can stop running their business from memory and start leading with clarity. That second one gives the customer a stronger identity. It's not about invoices. It's about being a more organized, more professional business owner. That's something a person actually wants to be associated with. One sells the task, the other gives the client a story. Here's a simple way to test your messaging. Fill in 3 blanks. What we sell, what the customer gets, and who the customer becomes. For example, what we sell, a business dashboard. What they get, clearer numbers. Who they become, a founder who leads with control instead of guesswork. The first is the product, the second is the outcome, the third is the identity. And usually the identity is the part people are most likely to share. So audit your offer through that lens. Ask, who does the customer become when they use this? What positive trait does it help them express? And then ask, is that identity visible in our messaging, our visuals, our onboarding? Because if the identity is only in your head, the customer can't use it. You have to make it easy for them to understand the story they're stepping into. Now let's move to reciprocity. Reciprocity is one of the most powerful forces in business. When someone does something valuable for us, especially when it feels unexpected, we naturally want to give something back. And it's not manipulation. When it's done honestly, it's how human relationships work. If a business surprises you with care or extra value, you feel it, and you're much more likely to talk about them. But here's where many businesses miss the opportunity. They deliver exactly what was paid for and nothing more. That's not bad. You should deliver what was promised. That's the baseline. But if the customer pays for a service and receives exactly that service, the transaction feels complete. The scale is balanced. They paid, you delivered. They may be satisfied with no complaints, but satisfaction doesn't automatically create advocacy. Think about the last time you recommended a business. Why did you do it? Was it because they did exactly what you expected? Probably not. Usually there's something else. Maybe they were unusually helpful, or remembered a detail, or solved a problem before you even asked. That's the difference between satisfaction and advocacy. Satisfaction says, that was fine. Advocacy says, you need to try this. A satisfied customer may come back, but an emotionally impressed customer is much more likely to bring someone with them. So when we think about reciprocity, we're really asking, where can we create a moment that makes the customer feel that was more thoughtful than I expected? That's the moment that builds emotional debt. Not guilt, not pressure, just a natural sense of they looked after me and I want to give something back. The key is to engineer moments of thoughtful over delivery, not random, not exhausting yourself with unlimited extra work. Strategic over delivery. Bad over delivery is when you keep adding unpaid work because you have poor boundaries. That creates burnout and weak margins. Good over delivery is 1 or 2 designed moments where you surprise the customer with value that feels personal but is still sustainable. If you're an agency, maybe after the first month you send a short personalized video highlighting 3 growth opportunities you noticed. These aren't huge gestures, but they show attention, and attention is rare. So picture your customer journey as a line: before purchase, onboarding, delivery, result, follow-up. Now imagine the emotional state at each stage. Before purchase, they might be nervous. Is this worth it? During onboarding, confused. What happens next? At the result stage, proud. At follow-up, supported or forgotten. Now the question, where is one moment where a small amount of extra thought could create a big emotional impact? If they're nervous before purchase, maybe it's a buyer's guide that helps them choose confidently. If they're confused during onboarding, a simple welcome video. If they're proud after a result, a shareable summary they can send to someone. You're not trying to over-deliver everywhere. That's how you burn out. You're trying to find the one moment where useful generosity creates the most emotional impact. That's the reciprocity moment. Now, once you have identity and reciprocity working, the third lever is product-led virality. Product-led virality is when you stop relying only on customers being nice enough to recommend you and start designing the experience so sharing becomes natural. The idea is simple. How can your product or service introduce itself to more people through normal usage? This is where a lot of software companies have done incredibly well. Think about tools that are more useful when other people are involved. Messaging apps, file sharing platforms. If I use a tool to send you a file or invite you to a workspace, you're now exposed to it. The product travels through the customer. But this isn't only for software. Every business can ask, how can our experience naturally introduce us to someone else? One useful way to think about this is the virality coefficient. Don't worry about the technical language. The basic idea: for every customer you acquire, how many additional people do they introduce to the business? If one customer brings in one more, growth starts to compound. But if most customers bring in no one, you're back to chasing every lead yourself. So what makes a customer likely to refer someone? Usually a few conditions. First, the product has to be worth talking about. No referral system can save a forgettable experience. Second, sharing has to be easy. If someone has to search for a link or explain the offer from scratch, most people won't bother. Give them the words, the link, the reason. Third, there should be a clear benefit: emotional, social, practical, or financial. Here's a key one. Imagine a happy customer about to recommend you. Would they know exactly who to recommend you to? Vague referrals are hard. If you say, send us anyone who might need help, that puts a lot of work on the customer. But if you say, if you know a founder who's drowning in admin, send them this checklist, that's much easier. They immediately think of someone. The more specific the referral target, the easier it is to remember someone. So test your business. Who exactly should your happy customer think of? A new founder, a busy parent, a finance director? If the answer is everyone, the referral will be weak. Specificity makes sharing easier. The strongest referral mechanisms benefit both sides. Dropbox is the classic example. Invite a friend and both get more storage. That worked because the reward was connected to the product. It made the product better. You can apply the same principle anywhere. If a client refers a friend, what could both receive that improves the experience? Not necessarily a discount, an upgrade, a bonus session, priority access, a free audit. The best incentive isn't always the biggest. It's the one that feels relevant and easy. Now, a common mistake. Businesses ask for referrals too late and too vaguely. They wait until the relationship's gone cold, then send, do you know anyone who might need our services? That puts all the work on the customer. Instead, ask at the moment of high satisfaction, right after a win, a result, a compliment, right after the customer says, this was really helpful. And make it specific. If you know another founder struggling with the same issue, send them this checklist. It explains the first step clearly. You're not asking them to be your salesperson. You're giving them a useful asset to pass to a specific type of person. The less effort it takes to share, the more sharing happens. So here's a quick share test. Is it obvious who this helps? Is there something easy to send? Is there a reason to share now? Do both sides benefit? Is the result easy to explain in one sentence? If the answer is no, the customer might still like you, but they probably won't promote you. Not because they don't care, but because sharing has too much friction. Your job is to remove that friction. When these three levers work together, the business becomes much stronger. Identity makes the customer proud to be associated with you. Reciprocity makes them want to give back. Virality makes it easy to bring others in. That combination creates advocacy. And advocacy is one of the most valuable forms of growth because it arrives with trust already attached. Think about the difference between an ad from a business you don't know and the recommendation from someone you trust. The ad gets your attention, but the recommendation lowers your resistance. If they had a good experience, maybe I will too. That's why customer-led growth is so powerful. The customer transfers trust to the next person, and that trust is expensive to buy through cold marketing. This doesn't mean you stop marketing, but customer advocacy makes every other channel stronger. Your ads work better when people have already heard good things. Your sales calls work better when the lead comes from a trusted referral. So the goal isn't to replace marketing, it's to stop depending only on marketing that starts cold. You want more growth coming from warm trust loops, and that requires intentional design. Let's build one example together. Imagine a business that helps small founders organize their operations. First, identity. What does the customer get to say about themselves? I'm a serious founder. I'm not just winging everything anymore. Second, reciprocity. After they buy, we send a genuinely useful operations checklist they weren't expecting, something that helps them find the biggest bottleneck in their business. Now they think that was actually helpful. Third, sharing. Who would they send it to? Another founder drowning in admin. So instead of refer anyone, we say, if you know another founder stuck doing everything manually, send them this checklist. Now the customer isn't selling, they're helping. Fourth, incentive. Maybe the existing customer gets a free mini audit and the new person gets the checklist plus a short diagnostic. Both sides benefit. That's a customer growth loop. The customer feels smart for sharing, the friend gets something useful, the business is introduced through trust, and nobody feels awkwardly sold to. So here's how I'd start. Audit your identity value. What does being associated with your brand say about the customer? If it's unclear, your brand may be too functional. Audit your customer experience for reciprocity moments. Where can you add one unexpected moment of relevant value? Not more work everywhere. One designed moment the customer would remember, and audit your sharing mechanics. If a happy customer wanted to recommend you today, how easy would it be? Do they have a link? Do they know what to say? Is there a useful resource to pass on? If not, you're relying on goodwill alone. Goodwill matters, but systems scale better. So design the system, create the shareable asset, build the referral prompt, make the result visible, ask at the right moment, reward both sides, remove friction. And again, this isn't manipulation. It's about creating an experience worth sharing and making that sharing easy. The market is tired of being shouted at. People are overwhelmed by ads, emails, funnels, and endless noise, but people still trust people. They trust recommendations, visible results, stories from people like them, brands. Customers are genuinely proud to talk about. That's why the psychology of scale matters. Because when you understand why people share, you stop treating referrals as luck and start designing for them. So here's the question I want you to sit with. If someone bought from you today and had a great experience, what would make them want to tell someone else? If you can't answer that clearly, that's the work. Strengthen the identity, create the reciprocity moment, build the sharing mechanism, and make the experience so useful and so easy to recommend that customers naturally become part of your growth engine. That's how you stop buying every ounce of attention from scratch. That's how you build advocacy. And that's how you get customers to sell for you without ever making them feel like they're being used. If this helped you rethink customer acquisition, start by auditing one part of your customer journey this week. Find one place where you can make the experience more shareable, more memorable, or more identity driven. Subscribe for more practical breakdowns on business growth, customer psychology, and scalable systems. Like this video if it gave you clarity, and comment below with the viral mechanism or referral moment you could add to your business this month, because the future of growth isn't just louder marketing, it's better customer psychology. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next breakdown. Check the links in the description below. Hit that subscribe button if this was helpful, and honestly, go reclaim your time. I will see you in the next video.